Welcome to Unexpected Connections, where we explore the fun, informal interactions that leave a lasting impact on our lives. Today, we talk to Tracy Baker. Listen to how these unique bonds have inspired her passions and laid the groundwork for some very special projects. Okay, so today we have Tracy, and I've got a prop here. Some of you may have seen this before. She is the founder of Get Phil Voted In. So Tracy, I'd love to talk about what you do, but I think might be nicer if you tell everyone what it is you do, a little bit about yourself.
So my background is I trained in PR and school and communications, and I'm a writer, and so my job in real life, I like to say, rather than the Phil Collins world, is a director of communications. I work for a large homeowners association, so it's pretty boring, but it's like a small city, and so I do lots of things. I have a theater that I book musical acts, a lot of tribute bands and things, and all sorts of fun stuff. So that's my job in real life. At what I do with my Phil Collins campaign, which is really like a second and third and fourth full-time job, is my goal is to do the biggest PR campaign that I can do to help people understand that Phil Collins is deserving of being recognized for his very significant contribution to music as a solo artist. And he's been eligible by the Rock Hall's standards for 18 years and has been egregiously overlooked.
Wow.
And I'll get to how and why I started this campaign in a little bit. But what I do is I have a Facebook page, which you know, and I have a website, and I have a YouTube channel and an Instagram account. And I've had the good fortune to interview people. I try to come up with new pictures and new content and uncover never before seen things and tell stories and share as best as I can. And so that is what I kind of do for the campaign. So I guess it's all related to communicating and connecting with people and information and things.
Wonderful. Well, actually, and this will lead on nicely to how we connected. I remember that back in 2022, you emailed me, but it was actually in regard to my little Phil Collins minifigure. And basically, you wanted one, but people like to buy them from me. But you actually sent a very nice, pleasant email describing how you love Phil Collins and how you enjoy seeing all the content on my website. And I thought, wow, this is, you know, people like to buy, but they don't like to tell me, lots of details about, how they appreciate the bands or the artists that I recreate. So I sent a message back to you. I thought this is really nice what you're doing, and the story you just told as well. I thought I want to promote this on my website as well, because this is the whole situation. This 18 years has been able to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but has not. It's criminal,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
So, if anything, it would be nice just to share what you're doing and then just get more eyeballs on it, because that's the idea, to get more eyeballs, get more, spread the word, because somebody might pick it up and who's in sort of top charge of whoever is in terms of inducting people. So yeah, I asked you, I said, okay, well, can you give me a little bit of information what you're doing? And then you gave me a lot of information and pictures, and I thought, oh, this is fantastic. So, and I've that post, so I did that, I think middle 2022. It's been recently shared again.
Yes, yes.
Yes, and I'm thinking, wow, this is brilliant. It's very organic. It gets shared by other people who are involved, and they just want to share the fantastic thing that it is. So that's what happened. And then, so at this point, because I mean, I want to make this all about gratitude. I want to thank you. Not only have I shared your stuff, but you've shared my stuff, which is actually inadvertently got eyeballs on my stuff as well. So I don't want to make it about me, but I want to, this is, thank you so much as well. And at the end of the 2022, you asked me to um, come up with a little happy birthday video. So it was just to say, "Oh, happy birthday, Phil," and that was it, really.
It was so good. And you used your little man that you just showed
Yeah, I
just
just the little man. I thought yeah, he wants to be on the screen as well. So
was thing. And that was the most ambitious undertaking. I had no idea
yes,
what I was doing. When I said I'm going to get 72 people to do a video for Phil's 72nd birthday, that's insane in and of itself. Thinking of it now, like, okay, it was coordinating it and getting people to do it, and then getting them to do a short video, and then all of the celebrity types,
mm.
the getting, and then people actually said yes. I mean, it was just an incredible thing, and I'm so proud of that video
Oh, you
still.
should be, because I think at the end of the day, you can talk yourself out of it. You could say, "I'm not going to get 72," and even if I do, how some of these other, so the VIP, so to speak, they're not going to say yes. I mean, I'm always thinking that when I try and contact them, I'm just saying, nah, they are so busy. Why do they want some dude or, or lady sort of interrupting their business or whatever they're doing? But that's just negative thought. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, people can say no, but they can say yes.
And they
And
did.
they do. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I think if that's one thing you have to learn is, yeah, people say no, but I tell you, they'll say yes more often, I feel.
And I think one of the things we talked about before we actually launched today was how do you make connections?
Mhm.
And so we don't have to get to it now, but I have some insight there when you're ready for that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
When you're dealing with the VIP type, so to speak, but also just anybody. And so we'll share that
Yeah,
later.
that'll
But
be that'll be awesome, definitely.
we
So
cover that.
then, yeah, so that was the 72. That was 70. That's Phil's 72nd birthday. That was 2003. I think because I remember being very disappointed at that the campaign didn't sort of, it just the inductees came and then Phil wasn't one of them, and it was like,
Yeah,
as,
it was February 1st. I remember because I had the high of releasing his birthday video.
mm,
It was a big deal for me, and I did a live stream, and it was so exciting. And then, literally the next day, February 1st, The Rock called, didn't tell anybody ahead of time they were going to announce the nominees, and so I had the highest high. His birthday video was so well received,
yeah,
and I know that Phil got it, and
yeah,
he, I'm 99% sure that he watched at least some of it on his birthday, because I had people helping me that were
mm,
working for him, and then that was the highest of highs, right? And then the next February 1st, a day later, he wasn't nominated, and I was just so heartbroken. It sucked,
yeah.
but I've persisted, and it's going to happen. Hopefully 2025 is the year.
We're just going to keep Phil in everyone's consciousness. Anyway, I got a good feeling. I think the things that you've been sharing lately with people remixing his music, he's becoming cool. It has been cool for a while now, but we're kind of old enough to have gone through the 90s, especially, where it was,
Yeah,
I don't know about in the States, but in the UK, I Like Phil Collins was a what? Uh,
yeah,
what do you
yeah,
want to, yeah, so but now Phil is cool now. So just
yeah,
I can say I like Phil Collins and people go, oh, awesome.
yeah. In the States, it wasn't nearly as bad. We didn't
Well,
have.
that's good then. That's good because you just don't want to, you didn't want to be in the UK. It is known and it's been said before. We have a different outlook on success. we have a different outlook on success. That's why I like the American attitude.
Yeah, Pete Townsend
Hmm.
is quoted. He's one of my favorites. He is quoted as saying, "We like to put our I can't think of the word he uses on a pedestal and then knock them off."
Oh,
He's
yes,
saying,
yes.
as a British person, he was speaking and said, "We
Yeah.
like to put our celebrities on a pedestal and then make sure we knock them off," or something like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah. That
yeah,
that
that's
that sounds about
cool.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think it's this year that we got connected again because I asked for your help. So this is the 10th year of Musical Brick, and I just thought I want to do something big for this anniversary. I want to make it the biggest stage I've made. What stage should I do? The series hits tour just went into the image went into my head, and I thought, wow, the one with the panels lifting. It's got to be done. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I've never really done motorized stuff before. So I literally thought of you. I thought, you've got to have some stuff. You've got to have some, I don't know, whatever. It could be pictures. Maybe technical drawings, but you know, that'll be the icing on the cake. So yeah, I contacted you, and then straight away you replied with blueprints, and I thought, what? This is too good. This is amazing.
It was amazing, fortuitous, and what you ended up doing. Actually, I still don't even know how you could do it. It's insane. I wish you had it right there, right now, and you could show it.
Yeah, actually, it's there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
on
cool.
proud display on my mini gigs display cabinet. Yeah.
It's so cool.
And so,
It's
yeah,
really
that was it. You got you helped me with the blueprints and the pictures. That was the 90s, but people still didn't really document stuff. There's hardly any videos of that,
yeah,
especially the mechanics of it and the uh, behind the scenes.
yeah.
Yeah, looking at the motor, looking at the ceiling. There's absolutely nothing. Well, nothing on the internet, and I think that's where you have to be careful these days. People think everything's on the internet. It isn't. Um, there's a lot on the internet, but there are. I'm sure there's videos out there of of it, but they're stuck in a cardboard box in an attic somewhere. Uh,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and there are some gold mine, of pictures and videos of it, but they're not on the internet. No one's processed them. Because why would they? But they should, because it's a marvel. I think people just look back on it now with such love and the amazement of it. But at the time, it was just like, oh, whatever, just another stage.
It's true. You don't have the benefit of hindsight, and you don't
No.
when you're experiencing that. That's why I always say, people say, "Would you go back and do it over again?" And I say, "Yeah." Knowing what I know now, I would. And I don't mean going to see Phil Collins. I just life.
Hmm.
I know it's a preposterous notion because we can't, and you have to live in the present because it's all we have. But boy, if I could go back and be more present for certain things,
Of course, yeah.
and experiences, it's just yeah, yeah. It would be neat. I should ask Jim Yukich. For those who are watching who may not know who he is, he was the person who directed pretty much every Genesis and Phil Collins music video, live special, concert film, etc., since 1983,
Hmm.
along with his producing partner, Paul Flattery, both of whom I interviewed. But Jim may have some of that, inside footage of
Hmm.
that stage moving and things. Who knows? I should
Yeah.
ask him. That would be cool
That
because
would be
there's
very, yeah, just to see if I got it kind of close.
Yeah, yeah, no, that would be
because
really cool.
there was a lot of artistic license, as they say. So actually, well, that's enough about me and our connection, which again is it's just it's just one of those things where it's unexpected and it just sort of grows and it's very there's no pressure there. You know, I help you, you help me. There's no kind of yeah, there's just it's just a wonderful it's friendship, but I'm kind of I'm steering it more towards just sharing stories, sharing gratitude, and then what leads on nicely to then see if you've got any unexpected connections that you could share. I mean, really, we connect with people many different ways, so it's not necessarily an email. Any kind of connection that you've had that's been unexpected and then has actually led on to other things.
I think a tiny little synopsis of what got me to this campaign will lead into then how these unexpected connections that I have been thinking about since you asked me, right? How they came to be, and then how I think maybe they'll how what the future holds in terms of
Mm.
that. And so very briefly I will say, in April of 2021 I lost my husband. He was 58, and he was diagnosed March 1st with colon cancer.
Oh, okay.
COVID, he didn't want to go to the doctor, and it was one of those things. And
Mm.
so he was already in the late stages when he was diagnosed, so he was alive just about 7 weeks. And so he passed, and he was a big Phil Collins fan. And in the last weeks of his life, the chemotherapy was I didn't know how bad he was, and so in hindsight, I wouldn't have done chemo for him because it wasn't going to help, and it had crashed his liver, so he's constantly having to go to the hospital.
Oh,
And so
wow.
he said, "Hey, will you bring my iPad? I want to hear music in the hospital." We loved music and concerts. We shared that. And so I said, on his last time in the hospital before I brought him home, and he only lived a few days, he says, "I want to listen to Phil Collins." I said, "Well, any particular?" "No, no, just Phil Collins." So found on his iPad, he had 5 million Phil Collins songs. And I have a little video of him singing "You Can't Hurry Love" in his hospital bed, this little chemotherapy sort of machine he had. And he was just only singing the backing parts. "Oh, you can't hurry, love. Oh, you just have to
Hmm.
wait." Oh, the backing parts. He was only singing those parts, and he falls asleep during this video, and it's heartbreaking. But I keep it. I hang on to it, and it's we saw Phil, of course, on the Not Dead Yet tour together, and we cried, because we were so happy to see Phil, but then we were sad that Phil's mobility was
Hmm.
impacted. So there was a lot of different things that connected for my husband and me and Phil. And so when my husband passed a few months in, I was up one night, and I had this bizarre feeling that I needed to listen to Phil Collins music, and I did. And I said, "When was that Not Dead Yet show that I went to with my husband?" And I started looking on the internet, and I saw that Genesis was touring. And I thought,
Hmm.
"What? That's weird. I didn't hear about that." So I went on the Genesis tour. I went to 12 shows on the Genesis tour.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, my first were in Leeds and Newcastle, and I had very magical things happen. I would look online for a ticket a few weeks before a show, and there'd be a seat in the front row open.
Oh.
Different weird things happened, and I had unexpected connections in that I was in the hotel bar that I was staying at in Leeds, and I was talking to this young man and this little gal. And I had no idea who he was. It turns out he was the backing singer, Daniel, one of the two gentlemen who
Oh,
sang.
yes, yes, yes.
I didn't know it was him. And so we chatted. And from that night on, and every show I was at, he would do during "Follow You, Follow Me," which was a song with my husband. He would do this motion, and what else did he do? I can't remember, but that was for my husband. So at every show,
Mm.
Danny would do that. So that was an unexpected
Wow.
connection. And um, it purely out of kindness on his part. And it made a huge difference for me because it's a really hard song for me to sit through at every show.
Mm.
And I just had a lot of weird things like that
That's
happen.
amazing.
Yeah, it was,
That's just well, that just shows Daniel's a very compassionate, very empathetic, very nice guy.
he's so sweet. He said, "How are we going to remember him?" I think I have to. I have a video of it, and I think as happens as one ages, you sort of have your brain freeze. He would do this, and then I don't know, but anyway, there's video of it, and I've shared it on my page. But anyway, so this connection thing continued. So when I got back from the Genesis tour, I have said in things I've written and shared, was I running from the grief, right? Because I
Mm.
went on this Genesis tour really kind of shortly after my husband passed. So when I got back from the tour, I was like, what else can I do? And I don't know how it got into my wheelhouse about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a campaign because I'm trained in PR
Mm.
and I had a passion for it. And it was like, I don't know if people believe in these things, but I was thinking to myself, my husband is driving this somehow because all of the fortuitous things that happened, and I'm only telling you the one thing about Daniel, but many other things happened, people that I met and things. And so that's the impetus for the campaign. And then everything that followed, I have these other unexpected connections, but I think meeting Daniel and then having him be so kind, and that was the first of what were many things that happened, and it set in motion. And whatever happened that night, and it was in July 29th that I had that need to listen to the music for whatever reason. And I think, was it my husband? What was it? But
Well,
it brought me here to you today, and there's all sorts of things on the way. Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that if the universe is sort of giving you signals, you can listen to them. Of course, you can listen to them. If you want to act on them, why not?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think there are things out there that are, you just you want to go along with it for sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
hurt, and that's another kind of connection. You connecting the dots, bringing it together.
I think the other one that kind of leapt to mind back from those times, I got involved. I had not been in the fan community on Facebook or Instagram really, and so I became involved in the fan community obviously when I started the campaign. But prior to that, I had been sharing. Going live at the Genesis shows and communicating with people on the different fan pages. And I connected with a particular woman. She lives in Yorkshire, and she is quintessentially British in that she is very private. So I won't say her name.
Okay.
When she hears me talk about this, she will know it's her, of
Okay.
course. But she had lost her husband, I think a year before mine. And I don't recall how we connected on one of the fan pages, but she has become a dear friend and an unexpected connection in that I didn't think that I would find someone who would be able to support me from a whole other country that I never met before. And she actually really was instrumental. She and one other person in another unexpected connection, who had lost their spouse as well, really supported me during that sort of key first year as I was getting through things, and to find that she is now a dear friend and someone I'll know for the rest of my life, through a Facebook page is pretty
Mm.
extraordinary. So yeah, she's great, and yeah. So anyway,
Well,
yeah,
and she knows who she is, so I think she'll, if she does watch this, then
yeah,
then
yeah.
she'll, the gratitude has been shown and the thanks and the support and everything. It's very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
So another person that is a connection, and I can say her name, I got her permission, was Kathy Stefan. And she's been in the fan community with Phil for 39 years, I think, back because she always refers to the old Phil Collins fan forum days with Captain Cabbage and Squids. And Captain Cabbage is now my dear friend Sadir, who I spent some time with recently. He was visiting from LA, excuse me, from Australia in LA. And I went and spent some time with him. And Squids is our friend Dave Kersner, who is now playing around and doing really well musically. But back from those, and Lynn Prade is another one from the Phil Collins Fan Forum days. I wasn't around then, but anyway, I met Kathy, and she has traditionally shied away from making new friends. She says, she's just, I'm done with the social media thing. But again, she and I connected, and it is because of Kathy that I have so many connections. She helped me connect first with Leland Sklar. She's friends with Leland. And I assume people watching this know who Leland is. He is one of the most accomplished bass players in the world. He has played on, I can't recall the statistic, thousands
Yeah,
of
there. Yeah, I've actually shared that statistic, and yeah, it's thousands of
thousands of recordings.
records and live. Yeah.
Yeah, he played for many years with James Taylor and Jackson Brown and Carole King, and he is the subject of a movie that came out recently called Immediate Family.
Mm.
And this is another strange connection, and I won't go too far into it, but in my work life, I do something called Cinema Society. It is a film series that I work with this gentleman who's retired in the film industry and PR. And he introduced me to Denny Tedesco about 10 years ago. Denny first did The Wrecking Crew, is how I knew him. It's a fantastic documentary about this studio musicians who worked in LA in the 1950s and 60s. And his dad, Tommy Tedesco, was one of the Wrecking Crew. It's a very highly acclaimed, amazing film. And anyway, Denny's also the director of Immediate Family. So I met Denny and was friends with Denny, right? And he interviewed Phil for his film Immediate Family, but didn't know my husband was still alive and I wasn't on my Phil Collins tear back then. So anyway, fast forward to now. I've had my two worlds collide because not only is Phil in this film, but so is Leland. I mean, it's about Leland and his bandmates who are also session musicians. So, but anyway, it was because of Kathy that I first got to connect with Leland, and once Leland said yes, he said yes to being interviewed for the interview series. Once he said yes, then I was able to get other yeses. I was able to get Paul Cole and Brad Marsh and Harry Kim and Lamont Van Hook and Connie Jackson and Jim Yukich and Paul Flattery. So Leland was key, and so Kathy will forever be. Well, she's near and dear to my heart anyway now. And again, another beautiful friend, but unexpectedly connecting with her. And then she allowed that connection with all of these people that I will talk to you more about. But yeah.
You see,
really...
that's a perfect example of unexpected connection that would then ripple out into the whole. It's just, and that's how it is, isn't it? It's just an incredible stories as well. I can't believe I think you are the epicenter of connections. That's just
there's definitely some kind of force of
yes.
goodness that is driving me and surrounding me right now, and the last 3 years. And I always say my husband is doing something. He's doing something for me. I don't know how, and it might be silly to say, but
well,
yeah.
no, I think that as I mentioned before, the universe works in mysterious ways for sure.
Yeah. But Leland, so Leland is someone who has been incredibly important for the campaign, and he's very supportive. anything we were to ask him, he would do. He's just great. He did the first interview. He wore the hat. I have
Yes,
the
yes.
this is one. This is a logo that I don't let people have. It's just for me.
Oh,
It's
okay.
voted in logo, and then it's got the heartfelt call. And so this is just my logo, and I have a
Right.
hat. But I do have just, and so he wore the hat for us and let us share it. Anybody I interviewed, I sent a hat to and thanked them. And anyway, so Leland has been great. If I need him, I can email or call him. But I don't, I wouldn't say, oh, he's my dear friend. But he is someone who supports the campaign unequivocally, and I support him. Anytime he's doing something, I
Yeah.
share it on my personal page and on my Phil page, and he's a tremendous person, and I'm very grateful for him, because, like I said, it was if he had not said yes, I don't think I would have gotten the other people. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Well,
But
I think you're right to kind of have that thinking, because sometimes people need to see other connections and other people that are actually doing it. Hello, music and Lego fans. Check out the latest builds at musicalbrick.com and subscribe to our mailing list for updates and deals. Do you have any other surprising or unexpected connections with any other celebrities?
Well, in the context of the campaign,
Hmm.
yes. So I will say that most of the people that I interviewed, in fact, all of them, I still have some contact with, which is amazing. First of all, the fact that they said yes is
Hmm.
incredible. And how I reached out to each one is different, mostly through Facebook, but Leland connected me with Lamont Van Hook, who was my second interview. And Lamont was touring with Leland and Lyle Lovett. And they're actually back out on tour now. And the lovely Amy Keys has joined them as well. So that's kind of the little Phil family together. But anyway, so some of the connections that I made turned into people who I would consider actually, friends of mine. Which, if I thought about that 3 years ago or 2 years ago, is mind
Yeah,
blowing. I would say,
absolutely.
somebody like Brad Marsh, for example, who worked with Phil for 30 plus years as his right hand, his drum tech. Brad and I talk on the phone, not frequently, but from time to time. And, we don't talk about Phil or people in the Phil Collins world. We talk about life and things, and so he's a friend, and I enjoy talking with him. Harry Kim is another person. Harry lost his wife several years before I met him, but that was a way we connected. In fact, when I reached out to him through Facebook to ask about the interview, he got back to me, and then we scheduled a phone call, as I did with most of the people I interviewed. And I was quite formal and, okay, well, we could talk about this and blah blah blah, and Harry said, hang on a minute, can you please, like, I am totally cool, like, you don't need to be formal with me, so just, it's all good, like, I'm not going to bite, kind of funny thing. And that really set me at ease. And so when we did our interview, some of the people in their commentary about the interview just was like, oh, these are just two old friends talking, and that's really nice. And so to make a connection like that with someone who's Harry's been in the industry for 50 odd years or something, playing with so many artists. I mean, I learned in our interview that he was on stage, for example, when Michael Jackson first debuted the moonwalk. Harry was
Mm.
on the stage.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty neat stuff, and the people he's performed with. But those two particular guys, I would say, Brad and Harry, Brad Marsh, Munchie, and
Mm.
Harry. Those guys are my friends. They're people that I call friends, and people like Brad Cole, who I interviewed. He just sent me the nicest note that accompanied the little Legos
Mm.
postcard. Right. He sent me a lovely personal note, and and his family lives near to me, and so I got to see him at Thanksgiving a couple of years ago and take him to the airport. Not my best friend, but hey, it's pretty cool. So people that I keep in touch with. And gosh, Connie Jackson, I interviewed. She was one of the backing singers with Phil's tours, 2004. I know for sure, and she did the Going Back stuff with him. I keep in touch with her all the time. She does film now and TV acting, and I saw her in LA last year. And not only are these real people that have lives outside of the Phil Collins world that I connect with them, but they also appreciate the support I can offer. I have almost 18,000 people on my Facebook page now.
Mm,
When Connie's doing a film, I want to support her and I'm
mm.
going to share that. And it's not a transactional relationship.
No, of course.
Those,
Yeah.
those, those don't work for me.
No.
I don't like that, and I don't resonate naturally. But it's a desire to share, and like you and I have.
Yeah.
You don't share something of mine because you're trying to get something out of it. And so that's really nice in those connections I've made. And I think I'll talk to you a little bit about Jim Yukich too.
Mm.
Um, but and Paul Flattery, two people, and there's a little more detail I'll share about that. So I'll stop talking in case you have some follow up.
You're talking to all these celebrities because they are, and they are popular musicians. I'm going back to that sort of the Harry Kim one where you're very formal and you're speaking very, oh, hello, and it's all, and then he was so, come on, snap out of it. I'm cool. You don't need to be all airs and graces with me. But I think that's what we forget. And I'm guilty of this too, because I haven't met as many. I'm stuck in Singapore, so
Yeah.
but I have popped back to London, and a band did come over here that I like, and I met, but I I I kind of put them really up here, and I'm very nervous, and I can feel my throat squeeze, and I'm thinking, oh, these people are like, they're gods, not gods, but they're kind of, they're up here, and it's very difficult to imagine that they're just human, and you
Yeah.
your mind, I think your brain tells you they are normal, but I don't know, your feelings, your gut, your heart, it kind of says no, they are just otherworldly. So
It's
I'm
true.
always I'm quite I'm impressed that the fact that you are you're talking to them all just like friendly, and from your interviews that does show. But I mean, what sort of advice do you give? Because there's the other extreme where you've got the super fan that just approaches everyone and says, "Oh, can you sign this? Oh, how are you?" Da, da, da. And they think they know them already. They think they have a connection, but they don't. But I always try to play it in the middle. They're they are human, but they're not like your best buddy straight away. So you've got to kind of play it in the middle.
Yeah, that's something I've heard from more than one of these folks who I've gotten to interview and things that it's difficult when because Facebook and social media has in some respects made the celebrity person more accessible if they
Mm.
choose to be. So if you have someone who's active on social media like Leland, for example, and Leland gets back to somebody who sends them a direct message. And Leland isn't necessarily a person who I've talked to about this, so I'm just using him as an example. But so he might be kind enough to respond to an inquiry, and then suddenly that fan thinks that they're best friends with
Mm.
Leland, and certainly, it's possible Leland might want to be friends with this guy, but it's more likely that Leland has 30,000 people that are reaching out to him, and he happened to write back to this one. But so I think they can struggle with that
Yeah.
aspect, being famous and trying to be kind and accessible. So I think too, people can tell inherently how you are. So if I was one of those crazed fans that's gonna, show up on Phil Collins' doorstep, which I can't tell you how many people I've had to chastise on my page. Do not go to Phil Collins' doorstep, please. It's his private home. He's not working, you know. But I think that you asked for a tip. One thing is I'm always nervous when I first was talking to Brad Cole. Brad Cole is such an incredible musician, so smart and so amazing. When I first was talking to him, I had that nervousness in my throat too. But they put you at ease,
Yes.
and
Mm.
then you start to talk, and it's okay. You realize it's okay. But I think any human being, but even these guys who have dealt with people more often, can tell whether you're cool or you're like kind of a little crazy fan. So I think because I think I'm God help me if I'm a crazy fan and I don't know it, but I think that helps being not being threatening to them or
Yeah.
scary. Yeah. It's like a relationship thing and a personality thing. Um, you have to just be normal. I don't know. I'm not normal, but I'm sort of normal.
Actually, you just mentioned, I've just got another sidetrack from the Brad Cole thing. Watching the Serious Hits live, especially all the other, because on the DVD you got other cuts, cam recordings of individual musicians. Brad Cole was so into that gig that you really don't see on the main play of that video. On the cam recording dedicated to Brad Cole's setup, you watch him and you think, oh, he's loving this. And it really comes through his enjoyment, his passion. Anyway, that's just a side note. That just popped in my head because you mentioned Brad Cole.
Really interesting is if you haven't had a chance to watch or hear my interview with him, he actually talks about that because being behind a keyboard,
Mhm.
he's not front and center like for example Daryl or Leland might be,
Mm.
because they're sort of out there. And so Brad and I talk about that in his interview, and I think he would have probably enjoyed having a chance to have the camera show his enthusiasm and so forth a little bit. And so that's pretty cool that you said that, because that's
Mm.
what we talk about in the interview. And Phil talks about that when people asked him, well, gee, why couldn't you sing from behind the drum kit? He says, well, I could physically do it, but the drum kit is an impediment to interacting with the audience, And so when he was going to take over singing, he had to commit to it. He had to
Yeah.
do that. So yeah. So anyway, yeah. But Brad's an extraordinary musician and so interesting, and just a great guy. Anyway, they're all everybody. You
Yeah,
don't
they
get
all.
Yeah, you don't work with Phil Collins. Phil Collins doesn't choose you because you're mediocre. He chose world-class
Mm.
musicians who are extraordinary, not only in their musical gifts, but also that are good human beings,
Yeah.
And you work with Phil for 30, 35 years, Daryl and some, 40 some odd years. They're going to be people that get along with other people, that are kind.
Absolutely.
If you're a jerk, you're not going to last, right? I
True.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
have to be world class in terms of your talent, but you also have to, yeah. And I love hearing the behind the scenes stories that we don't tell about. So who misbehaves on the bus, or pulls pranks in the hotel. Those are my favorite stories to hear from some of these people. Yeah. Love to do the behind the scenes one, right? Of that.
Yeah, that would be that. No, I think probably too much information. Maybe they don't want to be
No, I'm
see the
just
light of
kidding.
day.
Well, Jim and Paul are not musicians, but they are insanely talented people that were involved with Phil and Genesis. And
So
Jim, you
that's
could.
Jim Yukich and
Uh-huh.
Paul Flattery. Now they are, I mean, people do type those names into Google, and well, you're going to go, oh wow, yeah, okay, okay,
Yeah, they're pretty mega.
yeah.
Um, but they are separate guys, you know.
Mm.
I was originally trying to interview them together, and scheduling didn't work. And I was like, oh man! But as it turns out, I'm so delighted and thrilled because they had lives before, during, and after, right? The time frame that they were with Phil of their own, and
Mm.
accomplishments and achievements and things and stories. Jim, for example, one of his first music videos we ever shot was with David Bowie, and he ended up
Mm.
winning. Did he win a Grammy for it? Was it Modern Love, I think. And you know, Paul worked with just everybody. You guys gotta, the people watching this interview, and if we get people watching, gotta watch these incredible interviews I did. Not, they're not incredible because I did them, they're incredible because the people I'm talking to
Yep.
are so fascinating. But one of the things I was going to say about my unexpected connection with Jim, first of all, I could talk to Jim for 3 days nonstop and never stop talking because there's so much to talk about. And we'll say, you know, we'll go off on a tangent. I'll say something. He'll be like, oh, that reminds me when I did this and blah, 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 you know, and we'll talk about just other things, you know, in life. And he's just such an extraordinary guy. But the thing that was most thrilling for me during our interview, we talked about, you know, he won a Grammy for Land of Confusion, the video, the
Of
puppet video.
course. Yes, 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 yes.
He had the original storyboards that he did, frame by frame, like a comic almost, of the director or the writer of a music video's vision for the video. And he has the original storyboards from Land of Confusion, and he showed them. He brought them in, you know, and showed them on video. He's got those, you know. So anyway, so Jim and I talked about all that kind of stuff, and he said, oh, you know what I have, Tracy, which you would love. He says, I have, when Mike Rutherford and I did guest VJ duty on MTV once, and he said, I took and made a special version of the Invisible Touch music video where I used behind the scenes footage, special things that weren't in the video. And the funnest part of that video is the three members of Genesis had the little Sony
Mm.
handhelds cameras, and they were shooting each other. You know, in the beginning of that music video, you see Phil, you know, shooting and saying, what does he say? You know,
Yeah.
uh,
So yeah. Yeah. That's
pout
was
for me, pout,
yeah.
baby.
Pout for me, baby. Yeah.
So Jim says, oh yeah, I have all that footage from those cameras. I'm
Oh
like,
wow.
that footage, oh my god. So he says, well, anyway, he shared some of it in this special music video that he cut, so director's cut, so to speak, that only aired ever once on,
Mm.
and that time that he guest BJ'd with Mike Rutherford. And I said, I've got to see that. I'm going to scour the internet. Well, as you said, not everything's on the internet. It wasn't. So I didn't hound Jim, but I did say once or twice over a few months, any chance you found those old MTV tapes? And he called me a few months later and said, I got those tapes. I'm going to send them to you. And I was like, oh my God. So anyway, he sent them to me and I got them transferred from, it was on 3/4 inch tape, which I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but it's not easy to transfer. And I found this guy to do it. And I was able to premiere this footage, including this director's cut of the Invisible Touch music video. And besides my birthday video, which I was so proud of. I was so proud of being able to premiere something that only ever aired once, that
Yeah.
most people on the planet never saw. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's
Uh,
pretty cool. So that connection, and then you know, I'm pretty sure that you know, Jim and I'll be friends. You know, I'm not his best friend, but I talk to him from time to time, and I just I just delight in the things he shares, and he inspires me. And I hope to find another project like the Invisible Touch thing to do
mm.
with him. In addition to being the huge talent he is, he's also a mad Genesis fan. You know, he
Mm.
liked the band before he worked with them. You know, he saw them on the Lamb tour, which
Wow.
is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, he's like, yeah, my friends thought I was crazy, but anyway, so it's neat to see somebody like him who's a fan, but then also became part of
Part
them.
of
You know, he
part of the family, right? Yeah. Yeah.
know, yeah. So he's very special, and I'm grateful to have made that very unexpected connection. So yeah, very, very lucky. Um,
Great. And also Paul Flattery.
Oh, Paul, gosh, he is such an unexpected influence on me. I interviewed him and was fascinated. He is, yeah, British and incredibly talented and insightful. And I'm not going to go so far to say he's a mentor of mine, but he
Hmm.
has been someone who quietly from the sidelines has been a cheerleader for me. And um, every so often I'll do something on my page and I'll get this wonderful comment from him, well written, Tracy, or he'll share additional information on something or whatever. And I hope it's okay to share this. Maybe before we air it, I'll double check with him. But he had been working on a book and it's not out yet, but I got a copy from him unexpectedly, that with a personal note. And what he wrote to me was something about continuing to do such a good job with what I'm doing and things. And um, it's like when you have a parent or an uncle or somebody who you respect, who is incredibly talented, right? In his case, give you that attaboy, right?
Yeah.
And being a novice and doing this as a volunteer, having someone of his caliber recognize me, it has more
Hmm.
significance than he could possibly ever know. And so that is an unexpected connection that will resonate with me and that has impacted me in ways I can never have expected, and it's really special. Yeah, yeah. So he is a producer.
Hmm.
So the producer in that world, the music video world, is the person who makes it all happen. If you want to have a giraffe in your video, the producer is the one who has to get you the giraffe. So Paul has this beautiful ability to make things happen. He's like very kind and where directors have this reputation of being the director. I want it my way, right? So I'm not saying Jim's that way, but if he was, right, Paul would be the guy who says, well, we'll
Hmm.
make it happen. And he's lovely and no, just an incredibly accomplished person. Inadvertently, this is a funny story reverting back to the immediate family film. My friend Denny, I had connected him actually with Jim Yukich, to get some footage of Leland that Denny wanted for the film, and Denny was having a hard time getting it. And so I said, well, Jim can surely help you. And I connected these guys, and they met up in LA, and it was awesome. And I'd done some other things for Denny, very minimal. Anyway, my aunt was watching the immediate family in a small theater in Fredonia, New York, which is in Western New York, near to where I was born, about, gosh, 2 or 3 months after the film sort of made its official premiere in theaters across the nation. And she called me well, actually, she texted me and she said, why didn't you tell me you were in the credits of the immediate family film? I said, what? I'm not in the credits. Why would I be in the credits? Well, I saw your name there. I said, well, it must be somebody else. And so anyway, I had a digital copy of the film, that the film company had sent me because I premiered it in my theater where I work. It's a long story, but it's through that Cinema Society thing, those
Hmm.
the convergence of my two worlds. And so I went and I looked at my digital copy of it. That's my name.
Wow.
That Jim, it was Jim, it was like 3 columns of names, right? So all these names. At the bottom of each of the 3 columns, there's Jim Yukich, Tracy Baker, Tony Smith. They'll call it.
Wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing. So now I'm showing my fandom, right? I'm like, Tony Smith.
Yes.
Tony Smith, oh my God. So that was pretty cool. So maybe one of these days, I'll help, I'll connect Jim or Paul with somebody and appear in the credits of something they do. That's my dream. That's my message, right?
That's a lovely, yes, definitely.
So if I was going to tell anybody something to take away from connections that you make, especially with people like these guys, it's just be yourself. You don't know, I don't know about jazz music, if I'm talking to Brad or Harry or whoever, Um, it's painfully obvious I don't. And it makes it a little, they laugh and it's cute, rather than me going, oh yeah, jazz. I mean, I love it. I don't know about jazz music. So it's being yourself and being really honest. I think is a way to maintain connections. When you are well known, when you're Leland, for example, but Leland's a different animal because you could ask him about James Taylor and about Phil Collins and about Jackson Brown and about so but
Mm.
Daryl, for example, Daryl played 40 some odd years with Genesis, and so people probably always go, dude, what's it like to play the solo from Fourth to Fifth, man, whatever. And that's awesome, and I want to know that too. But after a while, Daryl's probably like, oh, you chihuahua, if somebody would ask me about my favorite kind of lasagna, boy, I'd
Mm.
like to answer that. It's just remembering that they're
Yeah.
people, and
Yeah.
and and giving them a little grace, and understanding that they get asked the same questions all the time, and they're busy people, and they have families and grandparents and wives and dogs, and they're
Yeah.
just like they just have a little more talent, maybe. I don't know. You and I probably have more talent than they have in some other things that we do.
Well,
Making
that's it. We're all talented in our own little corners of the.
that right? Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that's a really nice way to sort of wrap it up. We're all human. Even these people we admire and we watch on the television, listen to, they are they are human. And when you do meet them or have an unexpected connection with one of them, then just treat them as you would a friend. And I think that's a good takeaway. And then those connections can last if you are just human with them. Um, I think that's a really nice, very nice, very nice takeaway. Really. Well, I think I've taken up so much of your time, and I think or you could definitely chat about so much more. Maybe we should do a part two. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see.
I would love it. I would
But
love it.
so, I mean, Tracy, I'm really grateful for your time on this. And again, I want everyone here to check out all the links below. We're going to put everything there. The Get Phil voted in website. We'll put in the Instagram,
YouTube
so
channel
the
is the best.
YouTube. Yeah, that's the important YouTube
It's the,
channel, of course. I mean,
yeah,
YouTube is the big thing these days, really. Goodbye, everybody, and check out everything. Thank you very much.
in, everybody. Come on. Let's get that nominating committee on our
Yes.
side, and let's get Phil nominated and have 2025 be the year that he's in. So I could take a break. I gotta rest. 3 years now of this campaign. Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you so much, Tracy.